Alycats any viewers. So for today it's Halloween! And I decided what better video to make than my top 10 vampire films. Because vampires are my favorite supernatural creature of all time. And I've been obsessed with vampires for as long as I can remember. So I thought, why not list my favorite films? Now these are probably going to differ from yours because there are some very well-known vampire films that I have not seen yet, so of course they can't make this list because I haven't seen them. But please keep in mind these are my opinions, this is my top 10, so please don't get mad if your favorite is not part of my favorites. And these are in no particular order, by the way. But starting off, a vampire film that I adore is Let the Right One In. I'm talking about the Swedish original, not the American remake, but Let the Right One In is about the story of a lonely young boy who one day at his apartment complex notices that a young girl and her father have moved in, and he quickly becomes friends with this young girl. But the thing is, this young girl is a vampire and her father's not actually her father. He's just a man who is looking after her and he helps her feed, he goes and kills people and brings her the blood. And it's just such a beautiful story about friendship, and it also details how this young boy and this girl, who is actually not very young, how they develop a friendship and how they kind of fall in love. And you see how she struggles with her vampirism, and it's just such a beautiful film, and I highly recommend it. The next film I really love is Interview with the Vampire. This is based on Anne Rice's book, but this stars Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and Christian Slater, and it's about an interview with the vampire. And this is told through Christian Slater's reporter talking to Brad Pitt's vampire, Louis. It's been a while since I've seen this film, I'm sorry. And Louis is recounting how he has lived the past so many years, and he talks about his adventures and his friendship with Lestat, who is a fantastic vampire, one of my favorite vampires of all time. And it's just such a beautiful film. I couldn't really get into the book when I read it, but the film is so gorgeous. It's got some pretty good performances, and it's one of my favorite vampire films. Another film I really love is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. Now this is a very unusual film in the fact that it was made by a female director, Anna Lily Amirpour, and it is a black and white Iranian spaghetti western vampire film. If that doesn't sound intriguing enough to you already, I don't know how else I'm going to sell this to you, but it's about a girl called The Girl who lives in Bad City, and she's a vampire, and she has to figure out who to feed on, and it just chronicles her life and how she decides who to feed on. And it's so fascinating, and it's just so well done and so beautiful, and more people need to see this film. I also really love 30 Days of Night. Now, is this a perfect film? No, but it's good fun, it's pretty scary at points, and it's really gory, which, when it comes to vampires, the gorier the better. This stars Josh Hartnett and Melissa George. It's based off of the graphic novels of the same name, and it's just a good gory time. I also really love the classic seminal The Lost Boys. Kiefer Sutherland was amazing, and also Jason Patric was just a babe at the point. This also stars Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, and it's just about how these teenage boys in the 80s, I believe, are trying to live their lives and how they're going through puberty, and then they're also having to deal with these vampires that have suddenly come into town. And it's just such a classic film, and if you haven't seen it yet, watch it. Do yourself a favor and watch it. Another vampire film that doesn't get a lot of love that I think deserves to be watched more is Byzantium. Byzantium stars Saoirse Ronan and Gemma Arterton as a mother and daughter who are both vampires. And it's kind of hard to believe they're mother and daughter because they're around the same age. It chronicles their journey of how they're trying to kind of feel themselves out, because Saoirse Ronan's character has grown up without a mother for basically her whole life, and then one day her mom comes and she's super young and beautiful, and she's like, hey, I'm your mother, and also I'm a vampire. It's a very beautiful film, and it's very moving. Some people might find this boring, but I was personally very invested in this film. I love seeing how Gemma Arterton and Saoirse Ronan's characters had to navigate their new relationship and how they dealt with feeding on people. And I just thought it was a gorgeous film, personally. I am a sucker for the Underworld films, but in particular, the first Underworld. I just love the adventures of Celine and how she's navigating the worlds of the Lycans and the vampires. And yeah, I just loved seeing her relationship and how she falls in love with a lichen. Spoiler alert. And Kate Beckinsale, I mean, she's just really easy to look at, so Underworld. Also, I really happen to love Blade 2. Now, the first Blade was pretty good, but I love Blade 2 because it stars a young Norman Reedus, and he's so badass in Blade 2. I mean, Wesley Snipes' Blade was pretty awesome, but Norman Reedus in Blade 2 made Blade 2 my favorite. And plus, there's so many just gory action sequences, so much badassery going on, and I love it. Next vampire film I really love is What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows was written and directed by Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clements, and it also stars them, and it's a mockumentary that follows a group of 4 vampires who are flatmates living in Australia. You see how their relationships play out, how they interact with each other, and how they have to give their blood, and it's very funny, it's very gory, and it's just so underrated, and it's actually one of the few comedy films that will make me laugh because it's dark comedy, it's my favorite kind of comedy, and I love Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clements in this film. And the last film, of course, I can't leave this out, is From Dusk Till Dawn. I love this film. I thought Robert Rodriguez did a fantastic job directing, and I absolutely adore Quentin Tarantino as Richie Gecko and George Clooney as Seth Gecko. Now, I do prefer the TV series over the movie, but we're talking about the movie here, so I adore the story of the Gecko brothers, how they start out robbing the liquor store and how they come to find the titty twister and how they encounter some tonico pandemonium and how they have to deal with the vampires, and it's just so much action, so much badassery, so much gorgeous people on screen, and I'm in love with this franchise basically by now. I just love From Dusk Till Dawn so much. So those were my top 10 favorite vampire films of all time. What are your favorites? Let me know in the comment box down below. If you liked the video, leave me a like. Share the video if you liked it because that's really super duper helpful. And if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button because you get to see all the videos I make and you get to see this face and you get to hear me speak weirdly and yeah, selling points. Also, if you'd like to follow me on social media, they're all listed in the description box down below. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic Halloween. Woo! Peace and kisses.